Crime Stoppers International helping residents of 3 communities here establish safety strategies. Discussion of a plan to protect the rights of consumers doing business online as the world observes Consumer Rights Day, and Dominica to explore possibilities of how to profit from conservation of its significant forest cover. I am Julian Morris with the Channel 5 News. The details coming up. First up, 3 communities here to have their own community safety strategies with the help of Crime Stoppers. Residents of Yampis, Silver Lake and Senecu have spent the last 2 days working with experts to formulate a safety strategy that they can sustain. It is hoped that this strategy will eventually be duplicated throughout the region.
What I'm expecting is that as we finalise the strategy and give it to them to sign off, because it's their strategy, so we're going to draft something now and send it back to them. I expect that to be implemented. It'll be small steps. So, and each country that we've gone to has different priorities. But whatever we finalise here, they will start a slow process of getting the resources, looking for the sponsors, looking for people to help them to achieve. Actually, it's very much about getting the community to own it. And I think ownership becomes critical, because when I leave and my colleagues leave, this needs to keep going. So it needs to be something that's still there in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time.
To help lay the groundwork for the community safety strategy, Crime Stoppers brought in Dr. Alison Leacock, an expert on gender-based violence and child sexual abuse.
This dimension of the work that we did in the communities was to heighten their awareness of some of the signs of intimate partner violence, some of the opportunities that are available for support and intervention, because very often we know something is happening, but we don't want to get into people's business, and we're not sure if we're going to place ourselves in harm's way. And we talked about a number of interventions, the importance of the community not waiting until somebody is perhaps killed, which is the ultimate outcome of intimate partner violence. What's really great about the project is the ownership of the community and the passion we saw from the communities themselves, the pride and the creativity, the ideas that they had, and how well they fit in and got to work on getting down to the nitty-gritty of drafting the strategy is a credit to them, and they deserve to be saluted for the great work.
An expert in program evaluation was also brought in, and a survey was done looking at the community elements that would support a community safety strategy.
Things like community trust, willingness of residents to intervene, their acknowledgement of issues around gender-based violence and violence towards children, and theft, and things in the community. And so that was used then for them to identify the expectations. From the expectations, we came to the results, because there's a whole approach called results-based monitoring and evaluation. They came up with their results, and then I took them through the technical things of the inputs, the things they need to get, and then the outputs they need to see, and then of course the outcomes that are the long-term things based on the continuous implementation of the community safety strategy.
Some of the aspects of the community safety strategy will require money, but Dr. Baptist believes there are other areas which would only require community collaboration.
Even as I think like a homework center, if children are coming after school, you may want to give them a snack, you want to give them some juice, something that keeps them going for the 2 or 3 hours that they will be with you before they go home to their parents.
The community safety project is funded by the Caribbean Development Bank. Similar projects are underway in Barbados and St. Lucia. Community safety strategies exist in the UK, where they are run by councils. The difference here is that they'll be run by the people who helped formulate them. In other lead stories, Director of the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission is advocating for a national integrated plan to protect the rights of consumers involved in digital transactions or doing business online. This, as Dominica observed World Consumer Rights Day Wednesday under the theme, Building a Digital World Consumers Can Trust. Director of the NTRC, Craig Nesty, says consumers also have to feel respected and protected when they conduct business transactions electronically or online.
The idea of trust, a digital society that we can trust, is one where consumers will grow to trust their service providers, trust that your information, your privacy is protected, trust that you can do online transactions, and be confident that the receiver will receive the funds and you will receive the goods. And those things are essential in order for us to move from our standard-based economy into a digital economy where every Dominican can trust that these sort of transactions will be done efficiently and correctly, and everybody will benefit.
Nesty has suggested that as more and more people adapt to the digital world, policymakers will have to get involved to ensure that internet users feel safe.
We're going to need a plan. There's going to be some sort of integrated national action plan to get this done, because it's going to require a multiplicity of stakeholders. We're going to have to attack it from the legal front, from the technological front, so you'll have to get the ISPs and the other internet service providers involved. Policymakers, you need the ministers, government to play a key role in order to drive this agenda. The legislators, you need laws to make sure that it's done properly. Enforcement, Interpol, police officers would have to be trained. And more importantly, you have to empower the citizens of the internet. So from the young ones to the which I call the digital natives, to the digital immigrants, the older people, parents, educators would have to be empowered to understand how to be safe and secure and build that trust on the internet.
In related news, the Ministry of Trade continues to seek the cooperation of service providers to resolve matters affecting consumers in the absence of the necessary legislation. Director of Trade Martin Walter says upon assuming the position in 2014, he felt it would be useful to partner with Consumer International to celebrate World Consumer Rights Day. The Ministry of Trade works to put policies in place to protect consumers. Walter says they have not yet implemented legislation guiding consumer rights through digital transactions.
You know that we haven't as yet put in place the prerequisite laws. I know that, where digital technology and even digitalizing the government service, the IT, there's a special unit which is headed by Ms. ably so by Ms. Japierre, that is dealing with those particular issues. But from a Ministry of Trade point of view, what we have begun to do prior to the implementation or enactment of the bill is beginning to educate consumers about rights that they have, rights that are coming to them, and rights that, although not legally enshrined as yet, but rights that they can be able to begin to know about and in the near future be able to properly embrace.
While he says the interest of his ministry at the moment is ongoing awareness of consumer rights, a review of draft legislation on consumer protection is taking place as well.
The thing about it is that without the existence of the law, we'll have a difficulty trying to practically impose, on the suppliers a particular responsibility to respond to those rights. So what we have been trying to do from a trade standpoint, not just in the digital world alone, but generally to work in tandem with the suppliers here in Dominica, to be able to solve amicably grievances that are faced by consumers.
The Consumer Protection Bill will take into consideration digital transactions as it will speak to the provision of services in general.
I would say that most of the legislation's been done now, and I'm not going to just be specific to the consumer bill. They engage, activities that are taking place online. The bill itself will speak to that. Even in 2010, I remember when the Customs Act was passed, this was something that was being discussed, that online transactions has to be part and parcel of the equation if the bill is going to make sense in our modern era. So the bill will speak to that.
In more news now, the goal of having 100,000 people in the Caribbean tested for HIV and AIDS 10 years after the initiative Regional Testing Day was launched is within reach. Executive Director of Live Up, the Caribbean Media Alliance, Dr. Alison Leacock, says it was her goal that by the movement's 10th anniversary, 100,000 people would have been tested for HIV and AIDS. When she launched Regional Testing Day in 2008, 2,300 people from 6 countries were tested. In 2016 alone, 20,900 people from 21 countries were tested. Dr. Leacock believes the Regional Testing Day initiative has grown tremendously.
I always had hoped that by our 10th anniversary, or on our 10th anniversary, we would be able to make the landmark of having tested 100,000 people in the Caribbean. I am very pleased to say we are at the 90,000 mark. So I am confident that in 2017, we will be able to celebrate not just our 10th anniversary, but 100,000 people who know their HIV status across the Caribbean.
The main goal behind the promotion of HIV testing and counseling is public health and safety. Dominica and its regional counterparts have made significant inroads in decentralizing testing as an incentive for vulnerable groups to get tested.
A number of young people, as well as people over 60, we've seen that trend increasing, have been coming forward to be tested. So it means that on one level, we are reaching people because more people recognize that to come out to be tested for HIV does not mean that you are HIV positive, but it is being responsible about your personal health and the health of the people with whom you interact and that you love. So we do have that. We continue to be concerned, however, about new infections and the persistent stigma and discrimination. Those, in my view, are the real hurdles that we still have to surmount.
Celebrations marking the 10th anniversary of Regional Testing Day will be launched at the Barbados Hilton on May 26 with an awards ceremony.
We're going to award some of the stalwarts who've been with us from inception, some who have demonstrated some innovation in how they outreach to their communities, media professionals who've been consistent and committed in promoting the event. So there are going to be a number of initiatives. We have invited the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition so that we have bipartisan support.
Regional Testing Day will be observed on the last Friday in June. You're watching Channel 5 News. Coming up, the Minister for Housing as we update you on the housing resettlement in Bellevue-Chopin. This is Channel 5 News. Dominica is developing a strategy to cash in on the conservation of its high percentage of forest cover. This as the country embarks on a 2-day RED Plus workshop to discuss a strategic options paper prepared by a consultant from Panama. Reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation, REDD or RED, is action undertaken by developing countries seeking to mitigate greenhouse gases as part of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. RED Plus aims to reward countries for keeping their forests as opposed to cutting them down.
Deforestation and forest degradation have been described as the second leading cause of global warming, responsible for between 50 to 20% of global greenhouse gas emissions, which makes the loss and depletion of forests a major cause of concern as it relates to climate change. There is particular interest in RED Plus incentive systems as payments can be linked to performance. In addition, RED Plus can offer developing countries such as ours with large, extensive forest cover and who have maintained a relatively low rate of deforestation. Substantial benefits can be accrued to us from protecting our forests.
Consultant for the workshop, Eduardo Reyes, who last visited here 5 years ago, pointed out that normally over a period of time, forests seem to disappear. However, he says this is not the case for Dominica, which is very impressive.
Back on my first visit, I remember that you were building or improving the road between Rousseau and the airport. And the road was very nice, and I can see right now that the forest is eating the road. And not the opposite issues that usually happens in many developing countries, that once you open the road, you see that the road creates the environment for other ones to start destroying the forest, which is not the case of Dominica, which is a good signal.
In other news, construction on the housing settlement in Bellevue-Chopin for Petit-Savan residents displaced by Tropical Storm Erica is said to be progressing nicely. Site clearance work on the 49.6 acres of land in Bellevue-Chopin started in June last year, while construction work began in September. It is hoped that the settlement would be finished by the end of 2017. Housing Minister Reginald Austri says Dominica's topography causes construction of the housing units to be more creative to better utilize the available land.
We will be seeing a change in the housing infrastructure. In that we're now moving into apartment buildings, we're now moving into like 2-story and 2-floor buildings, because you have a limitation of land in Dominica. I mean, as you know, that 80% of our land is mountainous. And so we have to utilize the space we have in the best possible manner. And so we're doing a mixture of apartment buildings and standalone buildings. The Petit-Savan community will be a model community. We're talking about the farmers market, we're talking about community center, we're talking about new cemeteries.
Discussions are ongoing with the residents of Bellevue-Chopin and Petit-Savan to ensure a seamless transition to the new housing settlement, which is expected to complement the already existing community.
That we've been in discussions with both the residents of Bellevue and the residents of Petit-Savan, because you move in one community into another community, there's going to be some dislocation, there's going to be some cultural differences between those two communities, and you have to ensure that they mix and they fuse properly to avoid any confusion. Another thing that will happen is you're going to have this beautiful brand new city of Petit-Savan in Bellevue, but you also have to give Bellevue itself a facelift, because right across the road you'll be having the community of Bellevue, and so the people of Bellevue themselves are down for some improvement to their homes, to their road infrastructure. The school already is in Bellevue, the playing field is in Bellevue, so it's going to be two integrated communities. And it's going to be interesting to see how that works.
The housing minister hopes the wider Dominican public will also benefit from this new settlement in Bellevue-Chopin.
So it's a total and a complete community, and we're really hoping that even communities as far as Loubier will be able to move into Bellevue to procure some of the services, the farmers, the markets. On Saturday, I would like to see on Saturday where people move from Roseau and go to the Bellevue market. As you know, Bellevue has a special love for agriculture. Many of the fruits and vegetables organic come from that part of the country.
Meantime, the Minister for Housing is assuring Dominicans that the government is effectively looking to resettle those who live in disaster-prone areas. Following Tropical Storm Erica, 9 communities had been declared special disaster areas, namely Paradise Valley in Bath Estate, Petit-Soufrière, Good Hope, Dubic, Petit-Savan, Pichelin, Coulibestry, Campbell and Saint-Sauveur. Residents of Dubic have been relocated to Center in Grand Bay, while Petit-Savan resettlement is under construction in Bellevue-Chopin. Austri says the government has not forgotten the other special disaster communities and is working on relocating those residents to safer parts of the country.
We also have vulnerable areas. You have Campbell, which is a very vulnerable area, which consideration has to be given to relocation of the residents of Campbell, even not all at once like in Petit-Savan and Dubic, but on a phased basis. You would have to do some relocation, because Campbell itself is a very vulnerable area. You have areas like Paradise Valley, they call it in Bath Estate. Every time the river raises, then you have issues down there. That is an area that has to be looked at. You have Petit-Soufrière and Saint-Sauveur, Petit-Soufrière, yes, and Saint-Sauveur. These are vulnerable areas.
Austri says despite the special disaster areas, there are other communities in imminent danger of the elements, which are also receiving government's attention.
You have Joublanc, that area there where we're now building this Adventist people giving us some 6 homes, and you have some petro casas there. That is almost complete, and we'll be seeing, so we have about 12 homes there, and we'll be seeing movement. We're now in the process of doing the infrastructure, so you'll be seeing people now moving from Joublanc and Coulibestry that were affected by Tropical Erica will be now moving into this new community.
That's news. Your sports highlights next with Kenny Williams.
First up in sports, 2017 is a big year for cycling as the local association makes preparation to host this year's OECS Championships. This as the region's president on the sport is expected to make a short visit here to help coordinate preparations for the event.
We are pleased to announce that Mr. Trevor Bailey, who is the regional president for cycling, will be visiting Dominica for about 4 days, and that is the 18th, and I think he departs on the 23rd or the 22nd. Having said that, this is an important occasion for the cycling, for Dominica Cycling Association, because the most important thing is that we're getting the head of cycling in the region to come and prep us for the big event that we'll be having in June, which is the 2017, OECS Championship, Cycling Championship.
Bailey's expertise would be an asset to the development of the young association.
Cycling is new to us, and having this Mr. Bailey coming to visit Dominica and having to prep us on the way forward in cycling is really, really important to us. And we're looking forward to it. And when Mr. Bailey visits us, he will be engaging with sports personnel in Dominica, not just cycling, We're trying our best so that he would engage the minister. That is I think that is almost finalized. He will also be meeting members of the DOC, I guess the president, Mr. Felix Wilson, and of course the executive.
Moving on to football, the second semi-final of the Dominica Football Association's Division I League will kick off on Thursday with RC Doctors up against Mao Soka Strikers. That match is carded for Pori Playing Field at 6 in the evening. The final is set for Sunday in Geneva at 3 p.m. Meantime, the DFA Sports Division Secondary School Girls Competition kicks off on Thursday with Orion Academy taking on Portsmouth Secondary at 2 in the first match of a doubleheader at Lindo Park. In the second match, Dominica State College will come up against Northeast Comprehensive at 3, and at Newtown, Casabru Secondary will come up against Isaiah Thomas Secondary also at 3. Meantime, the Bagatelles, St. Martin, St. John's, and Calibishi Primary Schools topped their respective zones in the intermediate round of the National Bank of Dominica Primary Schools Football Championships on Tuesday. Calibishi Primary got 6 points to top Zone B, followed by Roosevelt Douglas Primary with 3 and Atkinson 0. In Zone A, we had St. John's Academy and Woodford Hill Primary tied on 4 points. However, St. John's was ahead on goal difference. Bagatelle Primary took the lead with 4 points in Zone F, followed by Newtown on 3 and Mon Prosper 1. Finally, St. Martin Primary dominated Zone G with 4 points, while Casabruce trailed with 2 and Bellevue Chopin 1. The competition will enter the intermediate round on Thursday at Lindo Park with the Valley Central and West, while over at Casabruce we will have East and the South competing. In cricket, there were wins for Dominica State College, St. Mary's Academy, and Casabruce Secondary in action from the Massey United Insurance Under-20 Cricket League on Tuesday. In the sports division organized DSC versus Portsmouth Secondary encounter, College won by an innings and 14 runs. Batting first, DSC was bowled out for 190 with Dion Burton adding 105. Kenny Jean took 4 for 42 and Leonie St. Jean 3 for 53. In reply, PSS was all out for 40 runs. Rion Abraham took 3 for 16 and Lee Louisi 3 for 8. PSS was sent in to bat a second time and was bowled out for 51. Lee Louisi bagged 4 for 29 and Chevron Dorset 4 for 11. Meantime, in the SMA versus Dominica Grammar School match, SMA won on first innings points. The winners took first knock and made 55 all out. Kasim Peltier took 6 for 37 and Axel Rama 3 for 6. DGS resisted with 35 all out. Tash Tavernier picked up 4 for 14 and Terrell Toussaint 3 for 22. Batting a second time, SMA reached 69 for 7 with 32 from John Luis. Kasim Peltier took 4 for 20. Finally, CBSS also got first innings points against St. John's Academy. CBSS first at the crease was bowled out for 78. Asa Newton added 31. We had Savio Ansam with 4 for 21 and Sahil Humphreys 3 for 18. SJA responded with 38 all out. Western Flora took 6 for 8 and Kalyan Wilshire 3 for 6. In other sports division secondary school games, we had Northeast Comprehensive A, the Isaiah Thomas and the Castlebrook secondary schools moving to the semi-final round of the Under-14 Netball Championships with wins on Tuesday. In the NECS A versus NECS B match, we had the A team dominating the game 41-2. CBSS defeated Pierre Charles Secondary 12-3 and Isaiah Thomas Secondary bested Convent High School 22-16. Meantime, the sports division is reminding students selected for track and field ahead of the 2017 inter-schools competition of training on Thursday. The list totals 54 students, including 27 male and 27 female athletes who will get a chance to make Dominica proud. They will be competing in the sprints, distance, and field events at the competition. The training sessions begin at the Windsor Park Sports Stadium from 3 in the afternoon. The 2017 inter-school competition is carded for St. Vincent this summer. Finally, in sports, registration for the 2017 basketball season will close on March 17. This year, the league consists of the Premier, First Division, Women's, and Under-17 competitions. That's all the sporting highlights for now. I am Kenny Williams. Join us next time.
And now we check in with the Met Office for your latest weather update.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to tonight's weather broadcast. I will be your presenter for this evening, Farah Rock Career. Today, a trough system was a dominant feature affecting weather conditions across the Lesser Antilles. Hence, the cloudy skies which prevailed across the Canefield Station and cloudy to overcast skies which prevailed across the Douglas Charles Station. We move on now to some earlier visible satellite imagery, and what it showed is low-level and mid-level clouds across Dominica and the rest of the islands of the Eastern Caribbean. Earlier radar imagery indicated shower activity to the southwest of Dominica. Of course, some afternoon showers were recorded at the Canefield Station today. The weather tonight is expected to be partly cloudy with some scattered showers, and similar conditions can be expected for tomorrow, and that is as a result of the high pressure system which will begin to establish itself. Let's move on now to the marine forecast. Sea conditions will be moderate and waves are expected to peak up to 8 feet. Of course, small craft operators and seafarers, please do exercise caution. Let's take a look now at the weather for the next 3 days. Well, tomorrow, which is Thursday, partly cloudy skies with some scattered showers is expected, and by Friday, a trough system will be affecting us. An increasing cloudiness and shower activity is expected. The weather on Friday will be partly cloudy to cloudy with some scattered showers, and on Saturday it will be mostly cloudy with some scattered showers, and of course a decrease in temperatures is expected. The weather for the rest of the Caribbean tomorrow, well, partly cloudy skies with some showers will affect most of the islands tomorrow, and the southern portion can expect mostly cloudy skies with some scattered showers. Let's move on now to the international cities forecast. Partly cloudy skies expected for New York and Beijing, overcast skies for London, some cloudy skies with some showers expected for the city of Caracas, and Miami can enjoy some beautiful sunny skies tomorrow. The sun will rise tomorrow at 6:12 a.m. and will set at 6:16 p.m. For more information, you can always visit our website at weather.gov.dm or call the weather hotline at 447-5555. Join us tomorrow evening for your next weather broadcast. Thank you for listening.
To end the news, the headlines again. Crime Stoppers International helping residents of 3 communities here establish safety strategies. Discussion of a plan to protect the rights of consumers doing business online as the world observes Consumer Rights Day. And Dominica to explore possibilities of how to profit from conservation of its significant forest cover. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can access our news on YouTube or on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the production team, I am Julian Morris, and to our viewers around the world, thank you for watching.